focus on, providing it digitally and giving a lot of assurance and transparency to customers moving forward. Like you're using the QR code, it's very interesting that we do payments using a QR code, but now you are tracking your material movements or the, efficiency or the transparency of your materials using a QR code. That's something that caught my attention. Then the other things you were like providing for speedy and efficiency documentation transfer, which is very nice. It definitely helps to eliminate the redundancy in documents or say duplicacy in documents, as we move forward. So that's all from my end, and good. We will talk about this more in the future as well. Definitely.
Thank you.
Fine. So with this, we move on to the next speaker, Mr. Vikas Biyani, who was the ex-Incharge Joint Commissioner, HQ and Controlling Authority, Food and Drug Administration, Maharashtra State. Since May 2021, Mr. Biyani is a consultant with TLDCA Consultants working on regulatory compliance. Earlier, he has worked as Incharge Joint Commissioner, HQ and Controlling Authority, Food and Drug Administration, Maharashtra State. He has more than 30 years of experience for technical, regulatory, administrator, and legal knowledge services in FDA. His responsibilities included being the drug controller of Maharashtra and certifying authority for WHO GMP certification and certificate of pharmaceuticals products. He was also responsible for the licensing authorities for sales and supervisory role on drug inspectors. Some of his other work responsibilities were inspecting manufacturing facilities and chemist retailers and wholesalers, drawing on the drug samples and implementation of provisions of Drugs and Cosmetics Act, Drugs Prices Control Order, Drugs and Magic Remedies Act, NDPS Act, Maharashtra Poison Rule. His overall expertise lies in online application module for licensing for drugs, cosmetics, Ayush drugs, blood components, products, medical devices, and public testing laboratories. Mr. Biyani has also worked in Ranbaxy Laboratory Limited in the production supervisory role, where he gained manufacturing experience in injectable and allied dosage forms. Other than his professional experience, Mr. Biyani is a lecturer at the Maulana Azad Educational Trust, Kamla Nehru College of Pharmacy, focused on pharmacy, and is also a regular speaker in the field of regulatory affairs. Mr. Biyani is also a MPharm Gold Medalist from Nagpur University and LLB from Mumbai University. We welcome you, Mr. Vikas Biyani. Over to you, sir.
Thank you for very nice introduction, Sushma. Very good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, let me thank the organizers for giving me an opportunity to raise and spread the awareness about the ingredients and the factors which are involved in the contamination of drug products, the compliances which are required with respect to technical and legal, then understanding and taking the accountability in a drug manufacturing. You will present or I should present this presentation slides? I will share now. Okay, no issue. is not shareable.
No, sir, we can't see the presentation.
I have opened it, but it's. I have also sent to you the presentation.
Okay. Maybe
The-
Mahesh from the team can play the presentation. Do you have the presentation, Mahesh, with you?
Yes, ma'am, I have. I'll be sharing it.
Yeah, you share it. Fine.
Yeah. Thank you. Taking into the consideration the aim and object of today's presentation, I have tried to cover up these issues through my presentation in the following way. I will be giving brief idea about the outline and overviews, the backgrounds, the legal provisions and technical aspects, the various compliance which are required, then the ingredients that leads to the impurity in pharmaceutical products, and apart from the impurities, going beyond the scope of pharmacopeia, I will be explaining this with examples and a vis-a-vis case study and how we look the way forward and take away from this presentation. Let me first thank industry that the pharmaceutical industry is constantly searching the ways to ensure and enhance the product safety, quality and efficacy. Ordinarily, the bulk drugs or pharmaceutical active ingredients that are APIs and pharmaceutical formulations comply with the monograph given in the pharmacopeia. But when it comes to the excipients, vehicles or pharmaceutical aid or components of the drug, especially solvents, the technical grade or the industrial grade ingredients are being used in the manufacture, and the manufacturer are disinclined or loath to use the pharmacopeal grade material. Now, why pharmacopeal standards? Why you should use the pharmacopeal solvents in a manufacturing of the drug products? The pharmacopeal standards are based on a current scientific knowledge and reflect the quality of pharmaceutical substances and finished pharmaceutical preparations which are available. Pharmacopoeias also ensure openness and transparency through the development and revision of monographs and other texts. They are constantly in touch with the industry and other faculties, other ministries, so that the proper guidelines may be formed in the way of pharmacopoeia. Pharmacopeal standards are public standards, and they are the science-based and data-driven, and based on sound analytical measurements and accompanying the validation data. The monographs may employ various validated analytical procedures for the test that are designed to suitable for a competent analyst to perform using established techniques and facilities. Pharmacopeia standards support the regulatory authorities also in controlling the quality of the pharmaceutical substances. Pharmacopeia standards are very vital instruments for marketing, authorizations, market surveillance, and free movement and trade of medicine among the regions and countries. Now, consider there is a risk associated with non-using the pharma grade. Not only pharma companies, even the regulatory authorities have paid prices in terms of the time, money, and resources for not following, and end up in the audit and or any quality issues that led to the cancellation of the final product. In some case, even the companies have to wind up their businesses because of these impurities matters. For example, we can have a case study. The very rampant use of low purity solvent, the industrial grade excipients have led to the dangerous drug manufacturing disasters. There are examples like US sulfonamide elixir case, where a elixir containing sulfonamide was formulated with diethylene glycol. In 1937, around 100 patients were died. Similar case of cup suppressant, which was Panama case, identified as a Panama case, where also cup suppressant was mixed with the glycerin, and the impurities were of diethylene glycol. The Indian scenario, the glycerin JJ hospital incidents in Maharashtra, that was also contaminated with the diethylene glycol. And take the very recent and Ambala, Haryana case, where cup suppressants, the preparations are mixed with the diethylene glycol contaminants. The certain solvents are become active pharmaceutical ingredients because of their inherent property. In COVID pandemic, who recommended the formula of various the sanitizers containing ethanol and IPA. The IPA sanitizers prescribe that the IPA of 99.8% has to be used according to the WHO recommendations. But because of these lower water content and other impurities can be reduced. However, none of the Pharmacopeia provided the assay or purity of 99.8% in the IPA. So in regularly, the IPA was purchased from the available grade from the market, vendors, or industrial chemical manufacturer. They have tested the content of IPA and adjusted the volume quantity to match the label quantity of IPO. And this has resulted into the manufacturing failures. And it has the manufacturer failures and its cost has produced huge challenges for the industries. The low grade or impure ethanol or IPA is used in manufacturing sanitizer and allied products. The COVID pandemic area, the adulterated 1-propanol and methanol mixed sanitizers and disinfectants were detected during the sampling done by the FDA. There was no compliance with the purity level of IPA. Because of this, the decomposition and deterioration occurred, and which has resulted in availability of substandard and adulterated, misbranded, or spurious products. So even the low profile or the low impurity of the low profile of the product IPA, due to the presence of benzenes beyond certain limit in such product, the health hazards are possible. US FDA has described the benzene as one of the cancer-causing chemicals, and the benzene has been included in the solvent class, one of the residual solvents categories. There are the incidents of drug recalls. The nitrosamine impurities, which were probable in human carcinogen in drugs, such as angiotensin receptor blockers, ranitidine, nizatidine, and metmorphin and valsartan groups that are commonly known as certain groups. So because of why these nitrosamine impurities were contaminated, because the amines may be present in the manufacturing process for a variety of the reasons. The API degradants, intermediate, starting materials, they may be reagents are catalysts like trimethylamine, which causes the contamination and produce the nitrosamine impurities. There are the rampant cases of methanol poisoning, which are reported time to time because of the illicit manufacturing of liquors. The cheaper methanol has led to its adulteration in IPA and ethanol. Now, because of this, USP has included the methanol test in ethanol and IPA monographs. You know the other excipients like talc, which are contaminated with the carcinogens like asbestos form fibers. They are also have made the companies to recall the products and even stop the manufacturing of their widely used products. There are the cases of cross-contaminations and mix-up and has posed the great health hazards. Like, for example, the trimethoprim sulfamethoxazole was contaminated with the glibenclamide, that because of the traces, the blood sugar level of the elderly patients was decreased, and that has led to the hazards to the patients. Therefore, health of Indian consumer as well as stature of the Indian pharma industry is at risk for non-compliance with the statute, standards, and use of non-pharmacopeal grade materials. I will give a short brief summary. What are the sources of the impurities and types? The impurities may be because of raw materials, reagents, excipients, manufacturing process, method of manufacturing, chemical process, degradation, intermediate, byproducts, defect in manufacturing processes, heavy metals, and residual substances. Even during purifications, the catalysts and other materials like filter aid, charcoal, asbestos, atmospheric content is also possible in the products, and the microbial contamination is one of the major source for the contamination of the products. After the products are reached to the market, during the storage conditions, degradation happens because of photolytic cleavages, oxidative degradations, decarbonizations, and because of accidental or intentional substitutions, the cases have been reported. So, what are the legal provisions and technical aspects which are involved in control of these compliances? If you consider the definition of Section 3B, it is a common understanding that the drugs which are how either they are the medicinal preparations or those which are utilized in the use in or for mitigation, prevention of the disease or disorder are said to be the drugs. But if you consider the definition of the drug, all substances intended for use as a component of a drug, including empty gelatin capsules. It means that apart from the API, the components which forms the drug product are, that is, one can see from the definition that including even the empty gelatin capsule, which do not have as such the medicinal activity, but they are the carriers of the drug. Therefore, all excipients used in medicinal products fall under the definition of the drugs. And because of this, the most of the lack of this definition, the manufacturers or some understand that the only pharmacopeal grade for the drugs has to be used. Even the similar definition is given in the Drugs and Cosmetic Act about the cosmetics, and it also gives that any article, and which includes any article intended for use as a component of cosmetic. Therefore, all ingredients used in cosmetic products also fall under the definition of cosmetics. Now, according to the definition, the requirement prohibitory sections under the Drug and Cosmetic Act. All the drugs which are defined in our definitions under Section 3A are required for manufacturing, distribution, and sale of the drugs a license, and is mandatory to manufacture in accordance with the condition of license. That is the compliance of GMP, GLP, and quality management systems, even for the medical devices like surface disinfectants have been included in medical devices. There are always a condition for grant of license for manufacturing of drugs, cosmetic and Ayurvedic medicine. It states that the drug shall be safe for use in a context of the vehicle, excipients, additives, and pharmaceutical aid used in the formulation, and under the condition in which the formulation for administration and use are recommended. So we can see that even the excipients, which are the responsible for the drug impurities, are to be controlled, and there should not be any adverse effect on the drug purity. There are the standards prescribed the drugs and cosmetic for the API formulations and components and other cosmetics under Section 8 of the 16 and Schedule V of the second schedule of the Act for the patent and proprietary medicines, and also are required to be labeled as prescribed in rule for the identity, purity, strength as prescribed in the pharmacopoeias. The provisions like US FDA has also reminded the drug manufacturers that are required to establish appropriate specifications for active and inactive ingredients as per 21 CFR 211-84, 211 CFR 160, 21 CFR 211-165. There is a document on good and trade and distribution practices for pharmaceutical starting materials, API and excipients. The WHO TRS 996/2016 specifically says in introductory paranote that it is mentioned that the material deriving from non-pharmaceutical grade, such as food, industrial or technical grade, should not be designated as a pharmaceutical grade when it is not produced under the required manufacturing conditions and quality system. There are the provisions under the good manufacturing practices under the provisions of the Drugs and Cosmetic Act, the Schedule M, which prescribes the various guidelines and which are mandatory and to be followed. It 16.5 states that there shall be an authorized and dated specifications for all materials, products, reagents, and solvents, including the test of identity, content, purity, and quality. These shall include specifications for water, solvents, and reagents used in analysis. The Schedule M under para 10.3 states that all incoming material shall be purchased from the approved sources under the valid purchase vouchers. Wherever possible, raw material should be purchased directly from the producers. So vendor analysis is one of the important factors for purchasing the various excipients or the drug products. Independent vendor selection for excipient is further time consuming, risk and influencing performance, the quality and acceptance of final products to the great extent. In view of above, all incoming material shall be purchased from the approved sources, which are licensed manufacturer or their agents under a valid purchase voucher. US FDA has also reminded that the drug manufacturers that they are required to establish appropriate specification for active and inactive ingredients, which are already explained. Then the second schedule of the Drugs and Cosmetic Act and the general notices of the most of the pharmacopoeias categorically specifies excipient used in medicinal products shall comply pharmacopeal requirements. The general notices of United States Pharmacopeia, National Formulary also state that the official substances are prepared according to the recognized principles of good manufacturing practices and from ingredients, compendial grade, complying with the specification designed to ensure that the resultant substances meet the requirements of the compendial monographs. So compliance with compendial requirement is a legal and a regulatory as per the pharmacopeia of respective region. So one can understand from this that the not only APIs or the finished formulations, but the excipients, solvents, which are used in pharmaceutical manufacturing are required to be tested. The various guidelines have been given for the solvents in ICH guidance for industry Q3C and USP 467 for residual solvents. In the guidance document, the various solvents which are used in pharmaceutical industries have been classified as a class 1, 2, and 3, depending upon the risk factors, that is, and accordingly, the class 1 solvent, which contains some examples like benzene, carbon tetrachlorides, they are required to be avoided in the pharmaceutical preparation. And if at all they are to be used, then their prescribed limits, the PDI values and the ppm concentrations has been prescribed. Accordingly, same for class 2 solvents, which should be limited in pharmaceutical products because of their inherent toxicity. There, the solvent-wise examples like chlorobenzene, acetone, acetonitrile, the PD's values have been given, and the method for calculations of the ppm limits and the required limits have been provided. The class 3 solvents, which should be limited by GMP or other quality-based requirements, because they have solvents with low toxic potential to humans. So no health-based exposure, it has been explained, and there is no the solvent-wise specifications for the PD or ppm has not been given, but a common PD of up to 50 milligram or more per day is recommended in case of residual solvents. And these residual solvents have been also chapter has been included in the USP 467. These are both applicable for even the drug development products. They are also applicable for APIs, the excipients which are used in the products. The coming to this after this, the legal position and compliances which required. There are the impurity sources which can be the ingredients may be involved. Like there may be a contamination in vendor source materials. When fresh solvents are utilized in the manufacture of these manufacture of APIs like xylene, toluene, and methylene chloride, they are maybe contaminated during shipment from vendors. So during transfer between storage vessel, the contamination may lead to the contamination of like Ndma, nitrosamine impurities. The guidance document by FDA has been issued, and the various factors or the wear conditions have been given in that document, so as to what are the factors involved in the contamination of the products and how they can be protected from these impurities. So how the Ndma impurities are formed? They are formed because of secondary or tertiary amines have been reported as impurity in some raw materials and fresh solvents such as toluene. Starting materials which are outsourced materials may be at the risk through the cross contamination if they are manufactured at sites where nitrosamine impurities are produced in other processes. So awareness of that should be there for the supply chain of raw material, and it has an important factor in preventing contamination. API producers may not be aware of nitrosamine contamination in raw material they have sourced from the vendors. A producer who manufacturing the process is not normally susceptible to nitrosamine formation may not even realize that the vendor source material may have any impurities introduced during the production or transport. Therefore, the validation of the source of the vendor has to be the important factor for procuring the raw materials and excipients. The other factors that the recover material such as solvents, reagents, and catalysts may pose a risk of nitrosamine due to the presence of residual amine such as trimethylamine or bispropylamine. The contamination may be also happens because of the things the products are manufactured more than one synthetic process. The API may be manufactured using a common solvent. If any of the solvent produces nitrosamine or contain precursor amines, the solvent sent for recovery are at risk. The use of recovered solvent that are commingled from different processes or across manufacturing lines without control may lead to the contamination of these products. If a recovered solvent is contaminated in this way and then used to manufacture an API, the API will be contaminated even if the synthetic route is not normally susceptible to the nitrosamine formation. The recovery of raw material is often outsourced from the third party. The sending this recovery to the third party may not have any specific information on the contents of this raw material, and they may use the normal process for carrying out the recovery of the solvent, and because of this, even the contaminations can be happen. The inadequate and unvalidated cleaning procedures can lead to the cross-contamination. So one of the major solvents like IPA used for the cleaning equipments, the impurities if present in the IPA may lead to the depositions onto the equipment and assemblies being cleaned. So using such non-pharma grade IPA, which only add to the cleaning problem rather than serving the purpose of cleaning. The contaminations can come from even the tankers or dissolutions of lacquer from inside the coating of metal vessel. So the packaging material or the transport vehicles which are used for transporting the raw materials and the solvents may contaminated because of these. In addition, because of this, globally, the pharmacopeal product supply chain is also isolated from the non-pharma grade supply chain to avoid contamination possible in the bulk supply chain. The contamination can also occur, or the impurities can be also predicted from the manufacturing processes. So what method or what manufacturing process has been utilized in the manufacture of the impurities may also count the source of impurity. At the end, the product may be a pharmacopeal product, but if it is manufactured from different the processes, sometimes the purchase of these materials may be because of for example, we take a case of IPA. which is widely used in the industry as a pharmaceutical solvent. It is manufactured from the two sources, that is the propylene route and acetone routes. So the IPA produced from propylene route may have some normal propyl alcohol in the final product, but do not pose any issue for the pharma applications. Whereas IPA produced from the acetone is likely to have a benzene, as acetone is a co-product in the phenol production, for which benzene is a feedstock along with the propylene. This could pose challenges for the pharma producers. Also, acetone-based IPA plant are co-located with the methyl isobutyl ketone plants, hence there is a possibility that the produced IPA in such facilities can have some unsaturated ketones derivatives, which can cause it to the fail in the UV absorbance test, which is critical for pharma applications. Hence, no acetone-based IPA which are manufactured are sold as a certified pharmacopoeia grade in the market. And they always sold as a technical grade. Presence of the various impurities may lead to the deterioration of the pharmaceutical products. Like, for example, presence of unsaturated hydrocarbons may contaminated the final product manufactured. Because of this, the drug shelf life may be get deteriorated. Risk of using acetone route to produce IPA, presence of benzene and related substance which is highly toxic, class 1 solvent and is carcinogenic. Benzene is also officially recognized in EU as a carcinogenic and mutagenic. The non-volatile residues or substances which have a high boiling point may affect the product quality. Acidity or alkalinity beyond specified limits can also change pH, and the final drug can fail in quality and stability. The radiable oxidizable substances may deteriorate purity and may react with the packing material. Hence, usage of non-pharma grade material would be of a high risk when it comes to the human health. The carbonyl compounds have health hazards. Like Lee explained before this, the benzene has a certain types of cancer in humans. Animal studies have also shown the acetaldehyde may cause cancer in humans and may cause serious illness or death. Acetyl group can irritate the upper respiratory tract, eyes and skin. Non-pharma grade IPA need not meet Indian pharmacopeal standard, and hence critical test parameters such as UV absorbance test, benzene, related substances, non-volatile residue substances, acidity or alkalinity, etc., may not meet the standard. Hence, uses of non-pharma grade material would be high risk when it comes to the human health. USFDA is evaluating the root causes of benzene contamination in certain drugs and alerting the drug manufacturers to risk of benzene contamination from the drug components and other potential risks. Pharma manufacturers who are neither using IP grade IPA nor test it for the compliances of IP standards for IPA used by them for manufacturing pharma products and instead use IPA with much higher limit for benzene content and varying in above critical parameters have been observed in their own specifications. The other factors which may be responsible for the non-use of pharmacopeal grades because of certain reasons, that the Chinese producer have been targeting the export markets with major focus in India. They cannot export to in European countries on because of the stringent condition imposed by the REACH, and they face steep resistance from the US markets. On account of additional duty imposed on IPA solvents because of the China, due to USA-China trade war. And as a result of this, exports from China PR has been increased significantly to India. A key concern remains that the imported IPA fails in the various critical parameters and posing a risk to the Indian pharma industry. Because of this cheaper rate, even the local manufacturer is at the stake and at the verge of closing the industries. There are the impurities beyond the scope of monographs, not just the use of pharmacopeal solvents, but one has to think beyond this, because unknown impurities present in the commercial technical grade excipients may not necessarily be detected in pharmacopeal testing. Quality of the product is beyond the scope of analysis. It is required to be built in the product by following drug regulations. Therefore, the excipients, API, and formulations are all required to be manufactured in the GMP, GLP approved facilities under the statutory license and in accordance with the license granted. There is one more concept, the quality by design, that is QBD. QBD is a strategic design process for development and manufacturing. It is meant to ensure that the intended performance of final products is expected both in terms of purity and efficacy. The basic principle of QBD is that the quality cannot be tested in the product, but the quality should be built in by design. Therefore, QBD aims to ensure the desired quality of the product by assessing the variables which might impact the quality. Which are the elements of QBD? The QBD consists of the following elements: a quality target product profile that identifies the critical quality attributes of drug product. Then product designing and understanding, including the identification of critical material attributes. Then process design and understanding, including the identification of critical process parameters and thorough understanding of scale-up principles. A control strategy that includes specification for the drug substances, excipients, and the drug product, as well as control for each step of the manufacturing process. And the process capability and the continual improvements are the elements for the quality by design. So to look forward, the way forward for us that the all major consuming nations like US, Europe, and China insist that the solvent excipients consumed in the drugs manufacturing process for drugs exported to these countries are made using such solvent excipients conforming to their respective pharmacopeal standards. The country like China has shown awareness about the healthcare of its citizens through these actions regulation. The Chinese FDA has mandated that all the ingredients, including excipient used by the Indian pharma companies, should be compulsorily approved by the Chinese FDA for the drugs manufactured for China. The Chinese FDA has shown immense concern about the quality of the products entering China, so establishing the controls not only on the final product, but also all the ingredients, raw materials, including excipients such as IPA. The technical grade, chemical, industrial grade not necessarily be manufactured under the control condition as per GMP norms and supplied in suitable containers. So the GMP norms and the suitable containers is one of the important factor which is lacking in the technical grade and chemical industrial grade materials. The risk of the unknown impurities and risk associated with such impurities on health cannot be overruled. As far as India is concerned, the Indian authority has yet to take the cognizance of above situations, because of which substantially large volumes of excipients and solvents consumed by pharma industry continue to remain outside the ambit of controls by the competent authorities. So, paying attention to the pharmaceutical excipients and their regulatory issue is an indispensable initial step to the success of quality drugs and cosmetic products. During manufacturing of API, if pharmacopeia grade solvents are used, then the chances of getting more yield are more. Even imported excipients need to comply with the standards and follow the law of land. Components of the drug or cosmetic, if imported, then it shall be manufactured under a license condition as required in the importing country by the exporter. And if such material is imported under a dual use category, then such a non-pharmacopeal grade component shall not be allowed as such to divert to be used in pharma industries, and strict vigilance in such matter is highly required. So proper registration certificates and import license, the products are required to be imported. And if at all if they are they are imported under the category of dual use, then their follow-up or the distribution has to be tracked to control these substances to move into the pharmaceutical industry, where because of that contamination may happen. Since pharmacopoeia solvents are manufactured and distributed under the supervision of approved personnel technical staff, and it is under license, everyone take utmost care of this product as far as quality and shelf life is concerned. Care to prevent contamination due to the packing material or containers used or during transportation is taken by the suppliers. All these issues assure better quality and ultimately a better and assure good productivity with a minimum risk of NSQ product. Maximum compliances of rules and regulation is possible, and it built up good credibility in national and international and even local market. There will be a reduced chances of failure due to the number of unknown impurity present in the non-pharma solvents. So finally, we can take away and look forward that the mandatorily use of pharmacopeal grade excipient solvents, which are manufactured under the license provisions, may be utilized in the formulation and the APIs. And with these small steps will result in the stricter control of quality and overall improvements in the standards of the drug manufactured in India. A mandate of creating ecosystem for improved healthcare, the above step will go a long way. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Vikas Biyani. It was very nice listening to your presentation. You know, we were able to understand that pharma industry itself is looking for better solutions to prepare better medicines. But definitely, I think if people in the value chain, raw material chain, follow the pharmacopeal standards, I think we can come up with better products. You know, and reduce the say the issue of transparency or openness. Improve the openness and transparency of solutions and help come up with better solutions. You know, we can reduce the contamination or proper procedures for, say, creating or developing the materials. We can definitely look into it. And it'll be nice if the Indian government or the authorities, you know, take note of it and ensure stricter controls of pharmacopeal standards so as to reduce some of the cases that you mentioned has led to such high risk in human health. So these also will help to eliminate this in the future. Right. Fine, sir. Sir, I have some questions. And let me start off the questions with you only, sir. Some people have asked that FDA is providing guidelines, but do they provide trainings also to improve the, say, understanding of solvents, excipients, and IPAs and manufacturing in the? Are they doing things on those lines also? Sir, you are in mute. I can't hear you. You are in mute, sir.
Unmute, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there are always the awareness programs are carried out. For example, say bioavailability, when it is introduced into the laws, then what is the bioavailability concept was made applicable to what products. The awareness programs are always held in associations with the pharmaceutical industry, Ndma, and other organizations. Even the trainings program, internal training programs have been taken for the inspectorial staffs. The conferences are arranged within the drug controllers to understand the various these things, and the things are taken care of.
Okay, sir. Sir, and someone has thanked you for the nice eye-opening presentation, and they want to question this. The nature and process of manufacturing of drugs itself has been complicated by mankind. So safety factors telescopically add up to not known, not understood, not followed. So in your opinion, please can you tell us if Ayurvedic natural medicines are free from these issues, and hopefully these processes are still simple enough and are immune to so much of artificial contamination. What are your thoughts on the same?
The Ayurvedic products, though they are called as very non-risky products, but it is not the so case. It depends upon the ingredients.
Mhm.
The Ayurvedic herbs which are manufactured means they are grown in variety of these things. There are sources there because of nature. There where they are cultivated, their potency remains with these. There are number of variety of the Ayurvedic herbs in a different locations and how it is procured from them. Even the very toxic products have lead from the Ayurvedic preparations. It cannot be considered as safe, like lead poisoning, which mostly detected in various basmas. When it is used in diabetic products, it have contain a high contaminations of the lead as such.
Mhm.
So that has caused a nephrotoxic effects on the kidney and failures of the kidney. So it is not necessarily that the Ayurvedic products, though because of their origin, they may be not having side effects, but it cannot be overruled with the other factors also. And the same Ayurvedic preparations now are manufactured with the help of these solvents. What we are talking about, the green solvents or other solvents, these are always maybe uh, giving the source for contamination in even Ayurvedic products. So one has to look in that aspect also.
Okay. Since common people don't understand the risk associated with residual chemicals we consume, what are the top three steps every household should take to keep themselves safe, as part of their daily routine, to say potentially avoid using adulterated food, medicines, or pills, or domestic consumption? Your thoughts on that?
The question this of using of these residual solvents cannot be handled at the household. They are to be handled at the manufacturer levels and the products by the quality by design. What the common man can believe that all the pharmaceutical guidelines and the laws are followed by that person.
Okay. Sir, in spite of strict regulations in the pharma industry, there are instances of usage of recovered or recycled solvents event by certain organized players in the segment. What steps is FDA taking to control these practices?
The initial the recovery and these processes before formation of the active molecules, the FDA doesn't have any role to control it. But
Okay.
as soon as the material moiety of that particular active ingredient is formed, then everything is in control of the FDA guidelines.
Right, sir. I think
The
this is question.
manufacturer has to take the care of this
Okay.
vendor validation through which they are getting the raw materials. Their site should be inspected. What are the things they are manufacturing, how they are manufacturing, how the things are there. They have to consider by vendor validations.
Okay. And this is a question for green solvents. How do green solvents help in API manufacturing process, and what is the impact of them to the environment? What is the impact of these solvents for the environment? Vis-a-vis the other solvents. I think Mr. Rongali can take this question. Green solvents. Mr. Rongali is there with us at the panel. Oh, okay. Mr. Rongali is not there. Would anyone like to address the question about green solvents?
The green solvents,
Yeah.
they may help in the environmental pollution controls and all these,
Hmm.
but they are equally means possible that they may also contaminated
Okay.
with the impurities. Like glycerin, what we are calling, maybe it is coming under the green solvent. But
Okay.
you see the case studies which I have shown where the glycerin has been contaminated with the diethylene glycol. So the impurities are going to be posed the health risk to the human beings.
Okay.
Either it is a chemical solvents or the green solvents. Even
Okay.
the use water, what we call it as a simple natural solvent for the use in manufacture, but the different grades of water has to be used in the formulation and manufacture of APIs. And the contamination, microbial contaminations, they are going to affect the purity of the product. Hence, either the green solvents may be there or either the chemical solvents are there, where the pharmacopoeia specify the standards. Then these materials which are manufactured under the control conditions, under the GMP manufactured facilities, GMP facilities, GLP facilities, quality management system, they are required to introduce in the manufacturing. And thereby we can only control the risk of these impurities.
Okay. Safe procedure to recycle nitro solvents as there is danger of explosions during recovery process of nitro solvents. What? Nitro solvents. Okay. If anyone would like to address the question, nitro solvents. Okay. So maybe we'll take this. We'll send the question across the industry and we'll get an answer for the concerned person. We can do that. I think. Okay. Is there any method to check the limit of carcinogenic solvents ppm other than head GC method?
Yeah, there are several.
Yes, Shivani, I can
Yes.
answer these
Yes, sir.
as a analytical person. Yes, there are several methods are available or several techniques, but that depends upon the control limit of the requirements. Like if it is in a ppm level, we will have to go to the hyphenated techniques like GCMS type of thing. But
Right.
if it is a okay, like 100 ppm or 200 ppm level, then we can even adopt the HPLC or GCs. But certainly conventional methods are not suitable.
Okay, fine. One question is 14 solvents are very NJC SLT separated in HPLC, which is the most common suitable column, which is the most suitable column to get that separation.
Yeah, actually it is a DB624, we call it as, or that is the column. You can Google it and then you can find out the stationary phase composition, wherein we could separate 16 solvents within 20 minutes. And we published that paper also in Springer journal, and that is available in the public. No problem.
Okay. So it's available as a paper. People can definitely refer to it.
Access that. Yes.
Fine. Okay, this is a general question. How to balance the quality and cost with the green solvents? You know, most of the manufacturers have stringent budgets. How can manufacturers look into this aspect?
It may be a green solvent or other solvents. Whenever we call it as a quality, definitely we have to compromise on the cost, right? So because if we are focusing on the quality, why? Because we should think in a broader sense of the safety of the patients and who are suffering with some diseases, and the safety of the humankind is broader aspects of the quality requirements, then wherein everybody can compromise on the cost. So of course, as a business partners or the business people and then manufacturers, we should focus on the cost as well. I agree, but for want of quality, we can have a leverage on the cost.
Okay, fine. I think this is a question for Deepak Fertilizers group. What are the impurities possibly present in IPA and what are the possible ways to mitigate? Mr. Rakesh, are
I
you there?
request Dr. Lal to take this question.
Okay, thanks.
Dr. Lal, are you there? One second.
Hello.
Hello, yes, we can hear you, sir.
Yeah. In our IPA, we are finding NPA, normal propyl alcohol impurity, and dye, and that's much only. And we are purifying this IPA with the high length column, which are getting the sufficient impurity profiling within the all pharmacopoeia it is passing.
Okay.
Yeah.
One more question is,
Putty is 99.95%. So remaining 0.05 comes to the N-propanol and other impurities. The process capability, the process is designed in such a way, and we have the higher grade of process capability, which separates the impurity by the column design. Yeah.
okay. Second question is, what's the best cleaning procedure of IPA tank and validation method?
See, we are cleaning by the application solvents and with the DM water finally. And we have the high volume tanks. Say frequently it's clean by the same procedure, the general procedure. There is no specific procedure involved.
Okay, fine. In terms of IPA, I can maybe on behalf of the audience, I can ask a question. In terms of IPA that we use in India, for a lot of our pharma products, are the standards well defined, or we are still in the process of understanding the regulatory concerns, the requirements, and then moving slowly towards it? What is your thoughts on the same?
Actually, this is well defined in all the pharmacopoeia. What are the impurities and other things? Recently, we have introduced UV test, as Mr. Biyani has explained regarding the importance of UV test. UV test, whether it is contaminated in tanks or in the tankers, it will grab by that test. That is UV absorbance. If you need a ppm level 0.001% on the all wavelength, we can measure that. So we have introduced in IP also, and we have also proposed in the US FDA, I think USP, and next year it is coming in the pharmacopoeia, in the monograph, this UV test. Yeah,
Fine.
it is controlled by that specific test, and always aware of that, all the standards of the IPA now.
Okay. So in terms of, say, digital technology, can that help us enhance the, pharma grade IPA requirements and bring a lot of transparency and openness, and even tracing the materials that we are getting, the end product, so consumers are assured that you are using proper raw materials. Do you think digital technology will play a important role in bringing this into, in a normal citizen's life?
Yeah, it will, because it will give the clarity on the quality and what we are doing, what we are following the GMP and good practices. So it will help certainly. Yeah.
Okay, that brings us to the end of the session. And what we'll do, if people have any other questions, they can just send us a mail and we will direct it to the concerned person and look into it in the future as well. Okay, so all in all, the discussion has definitely helped us understand the importance of using pharma grade solvents in drugs manufacturing. It has also shed light on the regulatory and compliance requirements for solvents usage in the pharmaceutical industry. With the increasing awareness regarding the various facets of solvents, we can surely improve the effectiveness of medicines. This will help avert any disasters in drug manufacturing and enhance the overall health of citizens. And today's virtual conference has definitely established this fact. Last but not the least, I would like to thank our speakers, Mr. Bangaru Babu Rongali from Granules India, Dr. KMB Narayana Rao